February last year.
We're taking you live to Sydney now, where the New South Wales Independent Liquor and Gaming Authority is talking about its decision to give Crown Sydney Casino conditional approval to open its gaming operations.
We have previously allowed them to open their restaurants and their accommodation, their bars, but not their gaming. So today is the announcement that we've got to the point where we are satisfied that on a conditional basis they can operate their gaming business. It's taken longer than we probably first expected, but as some of you know, it's been a very heavy rebuild, not only of the company but of their operations, and it's been hectic. They've been through since Bergen 2 other state-based inquiries. Just for reflection, the Finkelstein inquiry in Victoria covered about 3 or 4 times the volume of material that Bergen covered. So it's been extensive. I'd like to mention in particular the work of the liquor and gaming staff in New South Wales compliance in particular, and the policy people have been outstanding in the huge amount of work they've done, and of course members of the authority have been working closely, managing the relationship with the Crown to assert that, make sure we got to a level where we're comfortable with them opening their operation. It has been a ground-up rebuild of the company. The company that went into the Bergen inquiry as Crown has emerged from our discussions over the last 12, 14 months as quite a different company with a lot of different personnel. In particular, their operating procedures and the work we've done on their culture. So we're at a stage now where we've given them the green light, and it'll be a matter for them now in consultation with Blackstone as to when they actually commence gaming. That's a matter for them. I'm not sure when they will, but we've given them the green light as the regulator, so that will unfold over coming weeks. So if you've got any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. So it's conditional, and the reason it's conditional is this, that particularly things like culture and their ICMs, what we call ICMs, the internal control management conditions, how they actually operate their business on a day-to-day basis. They can't say they're suitable day one. We want to see them operate, particularly embedding in their culture the things they've told us they're going to do. We want to see that happening, so we've retained an independent monitor, Kroll. They have a role going forward, and of course we'll be keeping a very close eye on them. So they still need to satisfy us that the things they've said they're going to do, they actually do. Around the culture, that everybody knows, in effect, what the right thing to do is, not what the legal thing to do is, but they have a licence and they need to operate that within the law. So all of their staff need to know their roles, and we want to know that they will work with the regulator to make sure they've got the best outcome and that they comply with those obligations. With their ICMs, they are day-to-day things about how they manage their business, and we want to make sure they're working properly. We've rebuilt them from the ground up. It's been a very big process, but we think we've got world standard now, best practice ICMs, and we want to make sure they implement them well and that they're working well for their business and for the people of the state. So it's a conditional opening, and we still could find them unsuitable if after 18 months, 2 years, we're not satisfied that they're suitable. Then we could still go into a process which would ultimately mean they forfeit the licence. We haven't given that right away. They know we're going to be keeping a close eye on them, and they have to perform now that they open. They've got to implement the plans and the agreements we have.
So you mentioned they've gone through a lot of reform over the last sort of 18 or so months. Why not full licence today? Have they just not implemented the full suite of reform?
Well, we want to see how they go when they run their business to make sure what they say they're going to do, they actually do, particularly around their culture and the way they train their staff to do the right thing and comply with the law. You've seen plenty of instances previously where they weren't doing that. We want to make sure they do it, and we'll be watching them, and we'll be meeting with them regularly, and also our independent monitor, Kroll, will be working with them. Conditional means, no, they can operate. Conditional means we haven't found them suitable. At the moment, they can't have a complete unfettered licence until we find them suitable. and we haven't found them suitable, we'll look at that at the end of the conditional period.
In a practical sense, does that mean if you're at a gaming table, you can only get like an upper limit or something like that?
So the ICMs bring into play things like how their croupiers work, what the limits are, and aside from what we're doing, the government at some point in time are going to implement legislation to give effect to all the Bergen recommendations. So I think Bergen recommended something like 19 issues were approved last year by Cabinet, and they're being implemented at some stage fairly soon, I think, by government in legislation. So things like junkets will be gone, and other concerns that Bergen had. It'll be a changed business, and we want to see how they operate.
That's Philip Crawford there, the chair of the New South Wales Independent Liquor and Gaming Authority, speaking after Crown was granted approval to operate Sydney Casino. Well,